So my name is Neil Borbeau, and I'm the programming coordinator here at the Worcester Art Museum. And today I am dressed in a reproduction of a medieval suit of armor. This particular suit is designed from the styles of the 15th century, so it's sometimes called Gothic style. And it's all that because of all the points and the ridges and fluting in the decoration of it. And this was not terribly decorated, because this is kind of a low-end suit. Something suitable for a very basic knight. So I'm not a fancy prince or lord, just a basic knight. Now, what makes a knight a knight? Well, a combination of things. You have to be born to the station, but you also have to train for it. So to become a knight, you have to be the son of a knight and be trained in the ways of war, but also in the proper behavior to be a knight as well. So it was a fairly long process. To become a knight, you require training, starting at the age of somewhere around roughly about 7 to 8 years of age. You'd be sent off to live with another knightly family. And basically what you would learn there were some of the things that most kids nowadays would learn at school or at home. Things like, well, you might learn to read and write. That wasn't considered always that terribly important at this point in time. But you're also going to learn to do things like recognizing heraldry, learning how to hunt, the rules of hunting, dancing, basic music, falconry, that sort of thing. You're also going to learn your courtly manners, how to properly behave. And probably one of the most important aspects, you learn how to serve. And that was a very important thing. One of the things about the title knight itself, which is an English term, its root word is in the word, it's an old Germanic word, necht, which basically means to serve, a serving boy. So one of the things they were always taught to basically remind themselves that they were always in service to someone of a greater status, even once they were a knight themselves. So as a page, you start that training. You did learn some combat. You learn to grapple and wrestle. You learn the basics of swordplay. And of course, you would learn to ride a horse. That was very important. If you didn't learn to ride a horse by the time you were 12, you were considered not to be fit to be anything other than a priest. Because that's the other option if you're born into the knightly status. You're either a knight or you become a priest. Those are your only two career options. So there's that. Now, somewhere around 12, 13, 14 years of age, depending on circumstances, usually if you're big enough and strong enough, that's part of the thing, you're going to be promoted to the level of squire. And a squire is now the personal servant of the knight who's going to train him. So you're basically his apprentice. So it's pretty much continuing on with the sort of thing he was doing before, but now you're specifically, instead of serving a whole household as you did as a page, you're specifically serving one knight. And so you're his apprentice, you're his trainee, but you're his servant. And in return, he continues training you in the proper ways to be a knight. And you actually might start learning how to wear things like such as a suit of armor, as well as fighting different types of weapons and so forth. You would not generally be knighted until you were an adult. So roughly between 18 and 21, where we regard people to be adults nowadays, was about the age where you might be considered ready to be knighted, if you had enough money to pay for the ceremony. So it's a long education. So roughly 10 to 14 years of training to just become a knight. And it's very important to learn all these things, because it's not just so simple as jumping in your suit of armor, jumping on a horse and charging into battle. Because, well, the armor is something you have to learn to wear. Requires what we nowadays call conditioning. You have to physically exercise and build up a certain amount of strength, but also just getting used to it, putting it on, wearing it, and understanding how it moves and how it works. So when we look at a suit of armor like this, you know, especially if it's on a stand like we have in our museum, we have lots of suits of armor, and you can see, and they can read the signs, and they see that they weigh 45 pounds, 50 pounds, 67 pounds, and so forth. And everybody's like, wow, that looks so heavy, it looks so stiff. Now, of course, they're sitting on stands, and they're made out of a hard material, made out of steel. So they do look just like metal statues for all intents and purposes. But one of the things you have to look at when you look at the suit of armor are things like the knees and the middle and the elbows. Every place where the plates overlap, they bend and flex, because because those are located at the joints. So the same places where the body bends and flex, so does the armor. So the armor is not stiff and unmovable. It's actually a very highly movable piece of equipment. Because knights in the 14th and 15th century, when plate armor was developed, they fought on foot as much as they did on horseback. And you have to be able to move in order to survive. And that's very important to making the suit of armor work. The other feature is the fact that as much as this is hard, it's not just the hardness of the armor, it's the shape of it. The smooth surface of the armor, that helps basically protect you from things like the edge of the sword. It should glint right off, slide right off. So it's that shape. It's a deflective, it's a curved surface. That's what helps protect you. And if you're moving around, it makes it so much more difficult for some sword to actually connect with you. So it becomes very protective while you're moving at it. And so that's one of the big advantages, to be able to move.
Hi, my name is Aileen Novick. I'm the manager of public and education programs here at the Worcester Art Museum. And now that you've met the knight, we're going to proceed with our summer together activity today, which is going to be fun. Today we're going to design our own shields. Right, here's Neil the knight. He has his armor off, but he is there with two of our shields that we use for demonstrations. Now this is an interesting shaped shield that we find here. A lot of the ones we have in our collection are actually round. This is the kind that we associate with heraldry. And you might have heard the knight say that at the beginning of his presentation. One of the things you'd have to know about if you wanted to be a knight, he said, was heraldry, right? So what is heraldry? The heraldry, one way to think about it is thinking about coats of arms, which might sound more familiar to me, because heraldry was the way that you were displaying symbols that showed what you were associated with. What army, what regiment, what group, what family, what institution. If you looked at that knight, right, there weren't colors on his armor. It was all plate metal. So he might not look any different from someone from the opposite army that he's in. So heraldry was a way of using identification to say who someone went with. People used coats of arms. Many people couldn't read, and the images helped identify who someone was with quickly. So what you're looking at here is a coat of arms that is from 1485. It's carved into marble, but it has that coat of arms. You see that there is a tree there. There's a shield that it's placed on, and there's a helmet. So we're going to look at making our own shields like the one you saw. And first there's the field, which is sort of the background color of your whole shield, right? If I start with a shield, I have some made out of cardboard. This is one that I've just used the shape of. You could use one smaller, you could use paper, cardboard, whatever you want. I'm going to start with it blank, and then I might just put a field or a background color on it. And then I'm going to put an ordinary. And what you're looking at on my screen right now are ordinaries. These are designs that appear on the field, on that background color, and they add additional colors. And you can see there's all these different designs that people like to use. So you might pick a design that you like, or one that you have seen in the past. That can be fun. Next, you want to pick your heraldic charge. The charge is the main image in the center of the coat of arms. It's often an animal, but it could be anything. Whatever you would think of as the association. It could be a sword, a ship, a tree like we saw on the last one. This one, we put on a lion, right? Charges have different meanings. For example, the lion stands for majesty and strength. You could have an elephant, use that for ambition. The bear is often used for courage. And the sun shining was used for power and glory. So you can really pick whatever you want to do. That could be a fun one to do. Let's just look at a few coats of arms just from our collection before you get started. Maybe this will give you some ideas. This is the coat of arms of the Weston family. And just look carefully at it and see what you see. You'll note there are two different kinds of birds. there is a helmet. What do you see on top of that? Take a look, and you'll see that it has words on the bottom. You could design your own motto. Let's see what else we have. We have another one here. I like this one, the arms of the Orn family. You'll see that unicorn at the top. That's a neat one. And there are horns hanging. Sometimes you use powder horns like that in colonial times to put your gunpowder in. Maybe they're using them differently here. Here's one last one, coat of arms of the Payne family. You'll see that animal on top, something in its mouth. What else do you see? Again, you see words there saying their motto. And so you can pick whatever you'd like to put on yours. We have here, we did this one that I showed you earlier in the picture. But there it is. This is our lion shield that we have at the art museum as a sample, because this is a fun activity that we like to do. So think about the night, and then think about how you might design your own shield and your own heraldic associations with it. So if you design a shield, we'd love to see it. So if you're willing to share, please email me. My email here is aileennovick@worcesterart.org. So thanks for joining us. We'll be back with another fun summer together activity. Take care.